did try to take his own life after that and failed in that attempt. And then the moment when grace came, again, he was ready to terminate and do it publicly.
Really?
At the city center, at the cenotaph. He bought 2 wreaths from his aunt, who was a florist. He said, I want 2 wreaths. I want one delivered on Monday, and I want one that I want to pick up and take to the cenotaph for Jock. In the background, in the shadows, was this soft, quiet voice that says, Clem, God still loves you.
Hey, before we jump into the podcast, we want to thank all our donors and supporters who make the Today Count show possible. It's through your generosity that we're able to shape leaders through this content and this podcast. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow wherever you find yourself coming across this content. All right, let's get to the podcast.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Today Count show. I am your host, Jim Piper. I have with me today a guest. We've been working with his last name. You're going to understand that in a minute because he has an unmistakable accent. He probably doesn't think he has an accent, but the rest of us, and you're going to hear that accent in just a second. But Dr. Gordon Goetsch, pretty close?
100%.
100%?
Yeah.
I nailed it. Well, welcome to the Today Count show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
I'm
to be here.
glad
It's been a long
that
time
you're
coming.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here in the studio with us. So we're going to be talking about something. We're going to be talking more than the book, but Gordon just wrote a book. And for those of you who are watching and listening on YouTube, I'm holding up a copy of it right now, A Long Way Home. We're going to talk about the book in just a little bit. And for those of you who are listening to the podcast, it's a very attractive looking book. I have not read it yet, but this is my copy, and I am a voracious reader, so it'll probably be read by the end of the week. But we'll see how that goes. So you do have this accent, which most of us fall in love with right away. Tell us about the accent. Where did that come from? Where are you from, Gordon?
Okay, so I am a South African. I was born in South Africa, born and raised in South Africa, born in a small German town by the name of Stutterheim, which is interesting enough where the story begins. On my way home in Stutterheim. That's where I was born, and then grew up in the Johannesburg area.
Oh.
And
we all are familiar with that.
Familiar with Johannesburg, with Joburg.
Right.
And I'd be surprised how many San Antonians are very familiar with South Africa,
really?
Specifically Johannesburg.
And by the way, we are recording from San Antonio, Texas, or thereabouts.
Somewhere close.
Somewhere close.
Yeah. And so that's where the accent comes from. And I thought I would have lost it a long time ago. And we've been in the States for 40 years. And I still have, they say I still have the accent. Now you do, but when I go home, interestingly enough, is when I go back and visit South Africa and I meet a stranger, they will say to me, "Oh, you're an American. Where are you from? You sound like a Texan." And I say,
"Sound like a Texan."
They have no clue. And then I come here and everyone says, "Oh, where are you from? Are you from Australia?" Better punch them in the throat when they say that. But
I have to confess, that would have been my guess. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm a man with no country.
Well, what I love about your accent is, though to me it is decisive and clear, it's also very understandable. So somebody comes in with what we might call a really thick accent. It's kind of like when I'm watching movies from Britain, and I'm going, all right, every third word I'm not quite getting. That's frustrating.
Yeah.
But I can understand you extremely well, and I love your accent. And you also told me before we hit record that you're going to have an audio version of your book, and you're going to be the one that's going to read it.
That's right. Yes.
So I might buy it just so I can listen to you talk.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. You flatter me.
So before we get into the book, I just want to get to know you a little bit better, because though you and I have, rubbed shoulders from time to time at our church and whatnot, I just don't know you that well. So when you say you are from South Africa, you were born there.
Born third generation South
Third
African.
generation.
Yes.
Okay. And when did you come over to the States or to San Antonio or wherever?
We came to we landed in Fort Worth on the 20th of August 1985.
Okay.
And our intention was to be here for 5. My wife's degrees were 5 years, mine was 6.
Oh, okay.
And to go back.
So you came for schooling.
Yeah, we had an estate back there in South Africa, and our goal was to go back and to build a training center on our estate. And so we came here to get prepared to do that. And the day we left, South Africa imploded. And it was downhill from there all the way.
Yeah.
And which just knocked the wind out of our sails. All of our plans just disintegrated. And we battled through. We did finish school. And here we are. Here we are.
Wow. So you did go back?
We went back 15 years later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was 15 years before we
For how long?
before we went back, and we were planning to go back and stay. We wanted to just test the water and see if things had changed enough for us to do our original plan, original dream. I had 2 American-born children that went back with us, and
How old were they? When they made that
they
trip?
were 11 and 9 when we went back. And they found out very quickly that they really didn't feel comfortable in the country. They just couldn't adapt. They made a lot of great friends. They did so well. Their community was strong. Their relationships, but the country itself just scared the tar out of them. I mean, they were meeting, coming face to face with violence every day, and school friends whose parents had been killed in road high carjacking and just all kinds of
Well,
things.
so many movies have been made over the unrest there.
It was not a good situation. And one morning, woke up and the breakfast table, we were talking about it, and the kids were talking about it. And I said, well, I wonder maybe we should think about going back. And they just picked it up like that, and they said, yeah, let's go. And 14 days later, we were in San Antonio.
And you've been here ever since?
We've been here ever since.
What year was that? We
came back in 2003.
Oh, okay.
Went back in 99, came back in 2003. Yeah.
So, you're South African and you're Texan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much African-American.
African-American. There you go. That's awesome. That's awesome. And so your career has been mostly centered in I heard training. What kind of training? What kind of work?
Well, my degrees were in, I have several between Janice and myself, because we wanted to be prepared for what we dreamed about doing. So our degrees are pretty extensive, and I ended up with a PhD in theology. And so my teaching, I then got a fascination with the brain, with neuroscience. And for the last 5 years, I've been really digging deep into cognitive neuroscience research. Did a lot of consulting, corporate consulting in that area with emotional intelligence, character profiling.
Oh, wonderful.
That sort of thing, and loved it. I loved it. It was all. And then,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You should have told me that. We do a lot of that.
I know. I've been following you.
I could use your help. I'm drowning in work.
And I love it. And but then COVID came along and kind of took that away. We tried to do that virtually, in a virtual context. That kind of consulting just really didn't work for me anyway.
Right.
And so I did pastor. I was a professor of homiletics for a season.
That's a very good topic.
And absolutely teaching preachers how to preach. You'd be surprised how many preachers think they can preach. But...
No, hermetical circle. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I did not know that. No, when you got your PhD in theology, what was your concentration?
My concentration was systematic theology. I had a passion for ethics. I wrote my strong thesis on ethics, South Africa at the crossroads. It was basically really getting into the depths of what actually happened there with Mandela, and some shocking revelations through that. And then my doctoral dissertation was on worship.
Oh, really?
So I've always had a passion for worship.
Yeah.
I think worship to me is just so powerful.
Yeah. Well, all humans worship. They just are always aware of what they're worshiping.
Exactly. We're born to, created to worship.
That's right.
We're going to fill that vacuum one way or another.
Yeah.
And so that's what my my passion was, and we do still. Janice and I do some small group teaching around training your thinking, helping you to change your thinking to change your reality along the neuroscience, quantum side of neuroscience. And Extraordinary is a course that I've written and yet to publish, but we teach on that. And just, it's amazing to me. We think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and every one of those thoughts changes us some way, physically, physiologically, spiritually, emotionally. We change by our thinking.
Wow.
And if we can understand that and take captive,
Which is a biblical idea.
biblical
right.
idea,
Right.
take those thoughts captive.
Right.
And it's amazing what you can do with your thinking.
Gordon, a lot of our concentration in our ministry, sometimes we don't posture it as ministry. Sometimes it's postured differently, but it's truly a marketplace ministry. And
it is.
And one of the things that we enjoy doing is working with leaders in the marketplace and watching their theology develop.
Okay.
Whether they initially recognize what we're up to, or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. Have you done any research in like human temperament?
Yeah, I have. I have studied and dug into most of the temperament models.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that, of course, helped a lot with my consulting with
Very much.
character profiling.
Right.
How do you, and just, I enjoy doing that. I enjoy helping people understand that understanding and knowing yourself is not necessarily just for your benefit. It's for the benefit of the people that you meet every single day, to understand. If I can understand you, and I can get a sense of where your personality is and where you're coming from, boy, our relationship can go so much further than me trying to create another Gordon out of Jim.
That's what we do when we're younger, right?
Yeah.
We have a phrase at Lead Today, and it goes like this: if you're healthy, everybody benefits.
Yes.
And that's kind of the idea,
Absolutely, that's a good one.
Now, how would you classify your season in life today? I mean, what?
One word: limbo.
Limbo. Really?
Just in the waiting, and I know he is in the waiting.
Yeah, he is.
And so I'm not disturbed by that.
Yeah.
We've talked about some plans for our future, but we don't have anything in concrete right now. It's just a kind of wait and see. God, we don't know what you're up to, but we're trusting in sovereignty. I would like to continue to be on the platform. It's where I communicate best.
That's where you're at home.
And that's where I'm at home. And as those doors open again, it's my prayer. It's my hope. And
what school did you attend in? You said Fort Worth, Dallas.
Yeah, Southwestern Baptist Theological
sure.
Seminary. You're familiar with that? It's the largest
Sure.
seminary in the Southern Baptist seminary in the world.
I started at Golden Gate.
Okay.
But
Familiar with
they were so SBC focused that they chased me away.
Yeah.
Because there was a couple things that that I couldn't get my theology around, and one of them was in those days what we call closed communion and alien baptism.
Right.
Where you had to be baptized in a Southern Baptist church and
into the church.
Yeah, into the church. Right.
That's what got me fired.
Well, it's funny. It's what got my pastor, our church, taken out of the local association. Thank you. And so we were kind of black sheep, but we were a big church. We wrote big checks, so they didn't kick us out of the whole convention. They needed the money.
Yeah.
And that was back in the days about 19. So when you came back in 1985 and 1987, I was in Southern California working in church planting there. But you brought back some memories. So anyway, they chased me away from there, and so I went to International School of Theology, which is Campus Crusades School.
Okay.
I did not finish there because then I moved to Denver, and Bethel Seminary had had an extension program where you could go there for a certain amount of weeks, and they had one in St. Paul and one in San Diego, and went there and enjoyed that very much. Well, so we have this book that you have written, and it's this is a very, I'm going to use the word, see if it matches. I think this is incarnate. This is a book that is very dear to you because it's not fiction.
Right.
Tell us about the book. You mean, what's it about?
Okay. How this book came about was
And by the way, it's based on a true story, A Long Way Home.
yeah, and this is the story of my late dad's experiences through World War II as a prisoner of war, and his life shortly after the war ended.
Where was he in prison?
He was imprisoned in Tobruk. He was in Austria. He was in Egypt.
He got moved around?
He was moved around. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And
I didn't even know that was a thing.
yeah, they moved them. The Germans took them out of North Africa, and when Tobruk fell, they moved them into the last phase of his captivity was Austria. That's where he escaped. A couple of times from there was recaptured. But how it began, the story, what really drove me to write this was just the memories of all the stories that he would tell.
Wow.
Around the kitchen table on the banks of the Kai River, fishing for eel without a hook. I mean, he was all of those things that he would just the good times, and he would talk about those times. He was never he wasn't isolated, and he didn't avoid the subject, but there were a lot of missing pieces. A lot of missing pieces.
Now, what uniform did he wear? Who did he represent?
He represented South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, the Springbok.
And he was brought into the war.
And he enlisted.
He enlisted. Wow.
He lied about his age.
Wow.
That
was kind of commonplace, it seems like.
It was. Yeah. It was commonplace. The uniqueness of his lie, of course, was that he was brought up in a very strict religious environment. And for him to tell a lie was very difficult.
Oh, okay.
So what he did is he had to be over 18 to enlist, and he had to have his father's signature, and he was not going to have either. He was 17, and his father wasn't going to sign. So he took a piece of paper and wrote the number 18 on the piece of paper and put it in his shoe. And so when the question came, when he enlisted, the question was there, are you over 18? He says, yes, sir, I'm over 18.
Okay, I'm following you now.
And he said, and the enlisting officer said, are you sure? Looked at his smooth face.
He hadn't learned the part about lying in your heart.
And so that he would be comfortable not lying.
That's awesome.
He said,
I was never that clever.
The guy says to him, he says, are you sure? He says, I am certain, sir, standing on it.
That is so funny.
So anyway, he forged his dad's signature and went into war.
Wow.
And discovered that it was not the adventure that he expected.
Now, why was his story so compelling that you felt like you needed to preserve it? Because I suppose it would die with you.
Great leaders don't ignore their past. They learn from it. Every decision you've made, every mistake, every win, every failure, it's all shaping the leader you're becoming. In Story, the art of learning from your past, you'll discover how to turn experience into wisdom, setbacks into strategy, and pain into purpose. This isn't just a book about reflection, it's a playbook for growth. If you want to lead with clarity, humility, and confidence, your story matters. Learn from it. Grab your copy of Story, the art of learning from your past, where books are sold.
The pivotal, there are two pivotal moments there. The one is where his, and I'm going to be giving some spoilers here, but it'll encourage you to read the book.
Yeah.
his best friend, who started out as could have been his worst enemy, the way he approached him in the beginning, and that was one of the leadership principles that I want to just press in onto here is that he went from almost an enemy to a very, very close bond of friendship. And Jock was the friend's name, and he ultimately, because of the closeness, because of their friendship and the sacrifices and the rules that they broke together, the sabotage, and then the rules that Jock broke when my dad was in solitary. Only the officer one day said, "There's only one thing that will separate this friendship, and that is death." And the day came when Jock actually did sacrifice his life for my dad.
Really?
And that broke my dad. And the rest of his wartime experiences were sabotage and just wild. Did try to take his own life after that, and failed in that attempt. And then the moment when grace came into his life, which was after the war ended.
Okay.
Again, he was ready to terminate and do it publicly.
Really?
In the city center at the cenotaph with
what is that?
The cenotaph was the war memorial.
Oh, okay.
At the center of the town.
Oh, sacrificed himself right there.
Yeah, right there. And he bought 2 wreaths from his aunt, who was a florist. He said, "I want 2 wreaths. I want one delivered on Monday, and I want one that I want to pick up and take to the cenotaph for Jock."
Wow.
And the aunt was confused about this, but she let it be.
What was that? Was that survival guilt or
it was the horror that he'd seen,
distraught? Yeah.
and the fact that Jock had given his life for him, and he felt he was worthless.
Oh yeah, it has okay.
And but as he was in his drunken state, at this point he was known as the village drunk. I mean, he was literally in the gutter, and he was going to take his life publicly and in memory of to join Jock. Although he
wherever he was,
knew wherever Jock was, but he knew where Jock was, and he had a good idea that he wasn't going to the same place.
Oh wow!
And then in the background, in the shadows, was this soft, quiet voice that says, "Clem, God still loves you." And that was the moment. I'm not going to share any more of what happened there, because you have to read that particular, and that happens from chapter 3. The last 3 chapters of the book is where that unfolds.
Sounds to me like the book A Long Way Home has a double meaning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
And the cover represents that. If you see on the cover, there's a dark side, and then there's a dark side with thunder, lightning, and prison fences.
Oh yeah.
And then there's a light side where the sun shines through, and there's a church in the background.
Yes.
And that's the story.
It's beautiful. It's very well done.
Of the book. Very
well done. So you said there's some leadership principles that we're going to get out of this book. Don't give them all, but
no.
What are some?
I'd like to share just a couple of them, and I'm going to pick which ones I want to share. But I think the one. Most of these are going to center around the lessons that Jock has taught us, and it begins right in chapter 7. Of course, there's some parenting lessons and parenting leadership lessons all the way up in the first few chapters. But where what Jock taught us in chapter 7, when Clem and Jock met, they were being transported. In this as prisoners.
Oh, so they met when they were prisoners.
Yeah, they were captured. They were in the same truck being transported to the prison camp, and on the other side of the truck was seated this red-headed soldier, and my dad was on this side, and there was this guy with a huge red beard, lots of big fella, and he was looking at my dad, and he was smiling. And my dad didn't like the smile. Okay. And he looked at the guy and he says, "What do you think you're smiling at?" And Jock just continued to smile. And so my dad thought he's trying to be clever. So he got up and he went over to this guy. He says, "Who do you think you're smiling at? Get up and fight." and of course, Jock just smiled again and looked at him. He said, "You need a friend."
Wow. And
my dad sucker punched him, and said, "Get up and fight." And of course, Jock got up. And as I said in the book, Jock got up and up and up, and all 6'11" of him and 280
Oh,
pounds
my
looked down at my
gosh.
dad and put out his hand and he said, "You need a friend."
Wow.
And what we can learn from that is there's emotional quotient
Mm-hmm.
and there is adversity quotient.
Mm.
Jock demonstrated both of those things. In the beginning, as he came into that confrontation with Clem, emotional quotient served him well. He was able to remain calm. He was able to continue to communicate. He received whatever insults there were there. And that's what emotional quotient does for you. It serves you well in the workplace. It serves you well on the sports arena. It serves you well on the highway at 1604 when it's peak traffic.
Yep.
Emotional quotient serves you well. But what we miss is adversity quotient. When Clem, my dad, threw that punch, how would Jock have responded if he did not have a solid AQ alongside of the EQ? And that's what we need to learn is to develop that AQ, adversity quotient, where things come out of the blue, that they're unexpected, they're not the normalcy of life. And the guy literally cuts you off on the highway and drives you into the barriers and that kind of.
How was that developed?
Well, over time, it really came out of the understanding of the midbrain and the forebrain and how those interact. And a good adversity quotient is going to use your executive brain, the forebrain, where you've got logic and you can think things through, and you give yourself just enough time for the amygdala not to hijack that information and cause you to blow up, And so it's
kind of like a predetermined decision, even if you have just seconds to make it.
Yes, it is. It is, and there's several good books on that. There's one, I forget the author, but it's The Power of Five, where it's basically counting to five.
Really?
And she talks about counting to five backwards. You don't count forwards because you might not stop. You just keep counting.
Thank goodness it wasn't counting to 10 because I would get bored by the time I got done.
But that's just long enough for the information to pass through, from the brain stem through the midbrain through to the logic region where you can think about and then pass the signals back to the limbic region where the messages are sent and you react. And so that's where that all came from, that research is how we can develop that. And there's a formula for that. IQ plus EQ plus WQ equals AQ.
Okay.
WQ is your will quotient, your determination, your decision to do something. Because without a will quotient, you're going to get nowhere. It doesn't matter what you know.
You're going to be all over the place.
You'll be all over the place. You have to make a decision. You have to be intentional. And then you can develop personality. You can improve IQ. You can improve EQ. You can change personality. We never believed you could, but with neuroscience, with neuroplasticity and neurogenesis, amazing things happen with your thoughts.
I believe that. My language is different because it's probably as less studied, as yours. But the way I say it is that temperament is something that we're given at conception. In fact, even the Old Testament, they would name kids often after what they saw, in their temperament. And then on the next layer, I call conditioning, and that's the good, bad, and the ugly of what we experience in life. And when you combine those two things, they have a way of shaping your character. And
yes.
But the cognitive part is what you're talking about before, where I see the soul, as, and more specifically the mind as that ability to not only filter, but to begin to shape and make those decisions of who I'm going to be. And that's a God-given ability that he gives to us. Because often when you deal with the business world, many who have been wounded in so many broken contracts and poor performing employees, they take on a belief system in the life that they don't believe people change.
Right.
And that's such a sad thing. It's
so sad because it's so absolutely false.
It is absolutely false. I know that I'm not the same person that I was 20 years. I don't think I'm the same person I was 5 years ago.
Thank God I'm not the same way.
Yeah, thank God. Right, me too. Me too. Share another leadership.
So that one, and then along the same lines with what Jock was doing with Clem is Simon Sinek wrote a good book called "Leaders Eat Last,"
Yeah.
and Jock demonstrated that when Clem was captured was put into solitary confinement because he had been discovered doing some sabotage stuff, and put him into solitary confinement without food or water, in fact. And Jock, as much as he hated the Germans and hated being a prisoner of war, and we swore that he would never support or help them in any way, they'd made this vow between the prisoners. And Clem, one morning, he heard this whistling coming with this group of soldiers that was prisoners that were being marched down to hard labor, and he saw Jock, and he was cursing Jock. He was cursing Jock. He said, you're aiding the enemy. You said you wouldn't. Look what you're doing. And as Jock got to the solitary grid, he broke ranks from this thing and handed a turnip through the fence to my dad.
Wow.
And that's at great risk to himself. There was no concern about his own safety. He was demonstrating true leadership there, where Clem's safety, Clem's hunger, the state that Clem was in was more important to him to satisfy and to aid than his own safety.
That must have tasted like a sweet orange.
He talks about that. It was, and so that is for me a great principle there, and that with Charlie Bravo in Leaders Eat Last, that same, and that leads into another leadership principle, and that is the tribal, to be a part of a tribe, because when you are tribal in your thinking and tribal in your relationships, you have each other's backs. It's like the army.
Sure.
You're a tribe there, and you have each other's back.
Yeah.
There's nothing, you never one left behind. And there's a scene in the book where 8 of them basically connected as a tribe, and they never would leave anyone. And there was an instance where they had to march hundreds of miles, and one of their 8 fell, and
it increases your odds of survival.
The other 7 would not leave him. They went back, and they brought him all the way through the rest of the miles. They carried him and they supported him, because the tribal mentality is a leadership mentality. There's so many more.
The things that we can get through together versus the things in isolation.
Right. Yes. And they were able to go along.
I just remember wrestling practice. If I had to do everything in wrestling practice by myself in isolation, I didn't have the character to do that. But surrounded by other teammates, where we continue to spur one another on,
right?
We were able to do that.
And they did survive. There's an old African thought, I guess you could call it, is if you want to go fast, go alone.
Yeah.
If you want to go far, go together.
When I read through your book, what are some of the emotions you think I'm going to experience?
You're going to laugh.
Really? I need to laugh more.
You're going to laugh.
Yeah. I'm a very serious person, and I need to laugh more.
You will. You're going to giggle. You have to say, this is starting with he's under over 18 in his shoe, and but there are some really humorous, and then you're going to cry.
I like crying.
It's going to hit you. It's going to wreck you, and then it's going to restore you.
Wow.
You're going to have all of those emotions. They're all there because they're all real. It's raw. It is raw. I mean, it's an experience. It's not just a book. It's not just a war story. It's into the depths of one's soul.
It's history too.
And it's history. And it's factual. It is 100% accurate. The historian can pick that book up and everything will, and that's where the research came in. That was years of research.
Yeah, you did a lot of work putting this together.
Yeah, there's a lot of research in there. There's the number of days they were in the different camps, the names of the camp commanders. I wanted to know who they were. Who were these men that were so brutal, and you know, what happened to them? What was happening when they dug this trench where Jock was buried? What was that all about? What were they building? And I went back and found out what they were actually building there. They were building factories to build parts of the aircraft and the war machines, this machinery that the Germans were using. And that's why the prisoners were so anti working for, because they knew that they were creating weapons that would destroy their families and their homeland. That was all happening. So yeah, there's a lot of history as well as. It's written like a novel, so all the historical, the names are accurate, the places are accurate, the events are accurate, but the dialogue is created.
Sure,
dialogue is all fiction.
That must have been kind of fun doing that part.
That part was fun.
Did you know that you had that creative side in you?
Well, I think I did kind of know, because I've written a lot of sermons and illustrated and you know, formed things and learned how to write over the years. But once I got started, I couldn't believe what was coming out of my mind and my mouth, and it just, and I still pick up that book, and parts that I read, bring me to tears. Yeah, because they are so raw and so emotional. When
you write something well, it's funny how that is. I remember about a year ago, I picked up a book that I wrote a long time ago. And, you know, I was in a certain section that, first of all, I don't even remember writing it. And then I looked at it, I go, gosh, I'm kind of convicted. It's funny how you could write something and then later on.
Yeah. Oh, it does. It does. It does. I have looked at some of my writings and looked at it and said, I don't remember writing this, and this is too good to be me.
Yeah. No, and another thing is I go, oh yeah, that's me. That's
oh yeah. The early days, I have some of those.
What's your hope and dream that this book accomplishes?
I on purpose did not publish it as a Christian or religious novel. Yeah. The hook is in the last 3 chapters. Is unashamedly, this is the answer. This is where restoration. This is where grace is applied. You know, but my dream is for this to get into the hands of not just men, but the world, but specifically people who felt like they've gone too far, and there's no hope, or they know people where there's no hope, and for it to be a story that will encourage and uplift and convict. But I do want it to get, it needs to go far and wide. It's too big a story to be contained into one geographical region. And that's why it was inspired by my dad's little book. About 10 years ago, he wrote a devotional biography. It was 80 pages. Called From the Guttermost to the Uppermost, and he picked 30 events that happened in his experience, and he turned it into a 30-day devotional. And that was kind of the tipping point when I read that and picked that up and looked at it and read through it, and I knew then that this had to become great. This had to be there. There's so many missing pieces that need to be told, that we had not even been told as children growing up. And that was the catalyst, and that's what got me on the journey seriously. And then I'd love it to become a movie. It's got all of the makings to be an incredible film, adventure, drama, history.
Maybe this is your life work from here on out.
Maybe it is. We'll have to see what God does with it.
Yeah. I love what's written on the back of it. This unforgettable true story will wreck you and restore you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. Gordon, it's been too long. I'm glad that I had you here, and I wish you best for this. And again, those of you who are watching on YouTube, I'm holding up the cover one more time. It's what it looks like. I think you said you can get it anywhere books are sold. Obviously, Amazon and
Yeah, right now, for sure, Amazon. If you don't want to go looking for it, you can just do alongwayhome.org.
okay,
Alongwayhome.org. If you go on there, it'll take you straight to the Amazon link.
alongwayhome.org.
Yep, alongwayhome.org.
Okay.
And on Amazon, you will find the soft cover right now and the ebook. And then we uploaded the hard cover today, and it takes a while for it
Sure.
to actually land.
Yeah.
And it has also been uploaded to all of the direct distributors for the hard copies for the bookstores. I'm hoping to get some exposure in Barnes and Nobles, do some readings and signings and discussions around the book. If anyone out there has an idea of how to do that, you may.
Yeah.
And I have a radio interview. I've had a few radio interviews already.
Wonderful.
And have another one coming up on the 7th.
Wonderful.
Which unfortunately is South African time, but you'd have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get that one. But that's what I want to do, is just get the word out as much as I can. And I so appreciate you taking this on, Jim, giving me this opportunity. I really, really do appreciate it more than you know. Thank you. Thank you.
When you first started communicating the project, it was very attractive, and you live in a broken world. So any story about war and overcoming, all of that is very attractive. What I really like about it is, often men are the ones that we're trying to get to read more. And I would think that those of you guys that are listening to this is, if you don't read much, this is one that you might want to say, hey, I want to read this one. But Jonathan, we'll get this out there for everybody, and we'll get it out on social media as well, and see what happens.
Wonderful. Sounds great.
Thanks for being with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for spending part of your day with us on the Today Count Show. If today's conversation encouraged you, challenged you, or helped you grow, share it with someone in your circle, because we're better when we grow together. And be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with us on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And remember, real change doesn't happen someday. It happens today. Until next time, keep showing up, keep building, and keep making today count.